Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Woo Woo Girls Guide to Infinite Wisdom with your host, me, Mario Quendo, and the charming Laura Sanger Watkins. Hey, Laura,
Hello.
how you doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm just peachy keen. Today's topic is going to be on New Year's resolutions.
Uh,
Yeah, I know. That's what I say.
yeah, I'm the queen of I've always I tend to get very excited around seasonal shifts. Like in the beginning of September, I have the sun goes into Virgo, and all of a sudden it's like I've got that whole back to school fever kind of energy where I'm like, I'm going to make all kinds of changes. And then by the middle of September, I'm like, meh. And I'm like that every time New Year's Eve. Like I do kind of a year review. I look over and I'm like, okay, that was good. This was great. This was not so great. And then I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm like such a typical stereotype because like a week into it, I'm like completely still entrenched in my old terrible habits. And on top of that, I'm completely hating myself for not making any decent changes.
Yeah, it
No fun.
probably sums it up for a lot of us. But we can make we can make some changes. All right. And I don't so much. I mean, I always start off with a vision board for the year. And years past, I would have like I don't know dozens of things on my vision board, dozens. And when it would go back over the year, I realized that I got some of the stuff absolutely happened for me, and other stuff did not. And I was just wondering if it was like man, I just threw all this stuff at the universe and it's like make this huge demand. I want this, and you know what, this too. And maybe you should sort of streamline it just a little bit to be a little bit more not only attainable, but you can't just like throw things up on a vision board and just expect the universe to say, oh, hey, Mary and Danbury put in this order for this, and this, so, hop to it. There's work that goes along with that. And I think part of the reason of having a vision board is because then it's in your face.
Right.
So you're always thinking of it. You know what? If you put it near where you work, you're looking at it. So there's always that continual, oh yeah, I want that type of thing. So you're always like putting out to the universe how much you want this. So I've started instead of streamlining and adding like sort of like this little bit of twist to it. So when I want something, I usually will now make a vision board that has maybe one or two items on it. So I do like little interim vision boards. So instead of doing one for the full year, maybe I'll start off with like one for January. And this is what I would like to accomplish in January. I think it makes the boards more doable when you become more focused on something rather than throwing all this willy-nilly stuff out on a vision board or writing down your resolutions on a piece of paper and then you have like 3,000 things there. Usually the ones are, lose weight, exercise more, quit smoking, that
Create
sort of
a
stuff.
cleaning schedule so your house looks great all the time.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the three things that I plan on working on throughout the year shortly. Not that I'm procrastinating or anything like that. But I found that when I was a little bit more focused on something, and then on my vision board, I wanted and someone else told me this, that instead of just like putting these pictures up on your vision board, preface it with, is how easy will it be for me to, and whatever it is I want to do. So making it or putting it out to the universe that this is easy and I can do this, as opposed to, I want, I will, I am, I have. Even if when you're talking like in the future, like I have this already. I think there's to take that one step further would be is telling the universe, how easy is it for me to do this? I found most of my vision boards have, since I've started incorporating that little tidbit into it, have been far more effective. Interesting?
Yeah, that's an idea. I mean, part of my problem, and this is something I've always had a problem with, is that Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, this could go back to like old self-esteem issues, but there's so many things about myself that annoy me or that I want to change. It's really hard for me to pick like which is the most important habit that's horrible and ruining my life because pretty much all of them are. So it's kind of hard for me to choose.
All right.
Because
Well, I
okay,
have.
because we've got the whole like housekeeping thing, and I'd much rather like make things than clean my bathroom, but I do. I just wait until it's on the verge of like disaster. I mean, I wish I was much more organized. But here's my question too. When do I accept the fact that I'm just not who I want to be and just work with what I've got? And then what are the things that are within my control to change? I mean, that's something I'm struggling with too. Like what is something that no resolution in the world is going to help me with? And what is something that I can actually have some like a way to take action and like, be accountable and all that too for things that I actually can change. Because that's why sometimes I think I never end up changing anything because I think I want to change things that are too big, and maybe what you might be onto something is breaking it down to like a month and making something like a small behavior. Like what if, instead of worrying about my entire house and my entire life, what if I just say, okay, every single day I'm cleaning off the kitchen table and getting rid of anything that doesn't belong there.
You see, those are little baby steps, and it also has to do with putting a plan. All right. So you look at your house and it's a mess, and you want to change that. Okay. So and it's the little things, you know. I call it the 2-bag rule, and 2 bags of garbage got to go out of my house. They can go to Salvation Army, they can go to somebody else's house, they can go in the trash, but they got to go.
Mhm.
Trying to clear out the, I don't know, 20 plus years of clutter that I have in my house.
Yeah, that's hard.
And sometimes, I mean, not last summer, but the summer before, I cleared out about half the attic, which was, and it took me I don't know, 6, 8 months to do it. But it went from not being able to walk up there to there's room for more stuff now.
A couple of years ago we got a dumpster and we took that week off the kids took, like I think it was their March vacation or whatever, the winter one, and we spent that entire week like basically getting rid of things in this great dumpster, and it was like a beautiful, amazing feeling. And then that was 10 or so years ago, and things have slowly creeped back, and we're looking at the attic and we're like, how did this happen? Like, oh, and then of course Randy's solution is let's get a dumpster again. And my solution is like, why don't we just kind of do things a little bit here at a time? We don't need to throw every single thing out.
Yeah,
I don't
2
want to
bags.
throw every single thing out.
And I've always found that 2 bags to be very doable. So I'm not like have this lofty reaching. I'm just gonna clear out the whole storeroom in 1 week, and that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Because you got to open up the door, you got to look at it, and you're going close the door. We'll do this another time. However, if you just go in there with 2 garbage bags or a box or something, and you start doing something small, and you've reached your 2-bag limit, so you stop. I'm done. We'll hit this again sometime next week. It becomes doable when you break down something large that seemingly is impossible to do, and you break it down into little baby steps. Now, there's 3 things that I know I need to work on. And the 3 things for me is that, like yourself, I'm very disorganized, and I find that creative people tend to do that because we just like, oh, I'll just put this here and I'll put it away later. And then later
Right.
never comes, and then all of a sudden your desk looks like I'm not even going to show you a picture of my desk. But my desk, I have 2 desks. And last weekend I did the first desk, and this weekend I'll do the second desk. And I went into my office, and 2 bags of crap just went out of my office just like that. But that's one of my issues. So I'm just going to continue my 2-bag rule. However, I am, instead of doing it just for like stuff in the storeroom, I'm looking around my work area, and that's where I'm going to concentrate that 2-bag rule on. Is I need to. Do I want it? Do I need it? This is kind of nice. Do I really want it, Laura? I got a box of stuff for you. How about it?
No. Well, one of the things I have done, which is a habit that I've actually gotten good at, that I'm now going to give myself credit. last year, I put a moratorium on saying no to people that try to give me things. My mother is the worst. She's the one that's always trying to give me stuff. Like every time I meet up with her, she's got something to give me, and I'm always like, she saw it somewhere and she thought of me, which was sweet. And I appreciate that. But like the last thing I need to do is smuggle more crap into the house because Randy's gonna have a heart attack. And one of the things, I was a really indiscriminate Pyrex collector for a really long time. I love me some Pyrex. And if I go to a tag sale and the price is good, I like freak out. And if I tell myself, well, if I don't love it, I could always sell it, because there's a really rabid, bizarre subculture of Pyrex collectors. You'd be surprised. But what I've now told myself is I've put a kibosh on Pyrex buying. If it's not the pattern that I'm personally collecting and using in my own kitchen, I'm not buying it. And I've walked away from a lot of Pyrex over the year, but I feel pretty good about it because my whole thing is I'm not buying any more Pyrex till I either sell the stuff that I have or give it away. But the point is I've actually learned a little bit of self-discipline. And then the other thing I've been doing too is, while I might not be good about getting rid of what I've had, I've gotten a lot better at not bringing in additional stuff, and I've been better about telling my mother no and other people when they want to give me things. Because, my first instinct is like, oh my God, don't give me more clutter. No, I don't, but I'm very polite about it. But usually I'm just like, oh, no, thank you. I really don't have space for it. My other mother-in-law is always trying to give me furniture. And, we don't have any space for it. My house is tiny. So she's always saying, oh, I've got this. It's really good. Do you want it? And so, I've really had to be firm with her because sometimes she'll just bring things over and not even tell me. And I'll walk in, I'll be these giant lamps. And I'll be like, where did these come from? And the boys will be like, oh, Mimi. And I'm like, great. But it's like, I don't want or need them. We ended up putting things down in the basement where the band practice room is. I put things in the boys' room because I'm just like, because she thinks that she hates the idea of getting rid of anything that she thinks is good, but if she can't use it, she wants to give it to us. And I know she means well, but she's a nightmare because it's like, I don't want this clutter in my house. So I have gotten very good about telling people no, which is the first step. And now the second step is I got to start getting rid of the stuff that's here.
Yeah, that's what at least once a month, my husband and I, we bring a bag of stuff over. We make a point of bringing a bag of stuff over to the Salvation Army.
That's cool. Yeah, we have an ongoing donation bag ourselves, and we wait till it's filled up. And I've done that thing too, where I've turned my hangers the opposite direction, and if I don't wear something for once the entire season, I donate it, and that's been helpful. I'm on top of my clothes. It's just the rest of the stuff in my house.
Well, I've got crystals all over the place.
That's not clutter. Those are healing tools.
Yeah, they're just everywhere. They're everywhere. And the next thing that I'm having, that I have to work on this year is my standard operating procedures. I'm running a business, and for a really long time, it's been because I wasn't taking in new clients, and it was a very laid back approach to the whole having a business. I know what I make, all my receipts are put in, so my books are good, but my client paperwork isn't all that great. And I now, because I'm getting a new grooming van, I'm going to start taking in new clients again, and I need to be better organized with that. So that I can't just say I'm going to institute this, this, and this, because that's not how that works. And I'm really kind of a little clueless on how to do this. And I'm looking for software right now, and I'm not really finding anything I like. And I'm trying to stay within my own comfort zone. So that's going to be a project that I need to work on, and I'm working on it step by step.
That sounds like a pretty big deal.
It is a pretty big deal, but I can't just say, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to be automated tomorrow, because that's not going to happen. However, if I break it down and say, okay, this is what I need to do first, right? And the first thing on my list, so to speak, was that I have to have waivers and client information set up in a format for what is important to me. And I did that, Now I just have all my clients fill it out, and this could be the new paperwork. But that's step one. I may never go to software for my client information. If there's a learning curve for it and I have to work at it, I'm probably not going to do it. So I may still be very, very old school, just a little bit better organized with old school, you know, and maybe automate my appointments a little bit better and have a way to, what I would really like to do is have a way to remind, an automatic reminder the night before for clients.
Oh, like one of the like a
A
automatic
text
email that
reminder.
says, and like confirm or whatever.
Yeah, something along those lines. But that's, all part of operating procedures. And like I said, I don't feel, and I think this, and that goes all the way back now to organization, where I don't feel very organized with that because everything's just sort of like all over the place. I mean, I have this little card file, and that's where my information is, and I can't remember the last time any of it was updated. I mean, there's most certainly no waivers in them, and it's time that I start getting and pulling organization into my life. So that standard operating procedures really and truly is tied into that whole I feel so unorganized.
Mm.
And then the last thing on my list is, and I'm not sure how I'm going to approach this, is that there's a definite lack of exercise in my life. I'm not going to go to a gym. That's not going to happen.
I have that problem too. I'm reading a book about, just a general book about astrology, and I got to my sign, Gemini, and it says, Geminis have a lot of nervous energy, and they always, and one of the best ways to handling it is to exercise and do a lot of cardio to burn off that excess energy and kind of help them get grounded and centered. And then the sentence said, I just felt like I was pinned to like a board. It said, all Geminis need way more exercise than they actually want. And I was like, oh my God, any exercise is more than I want.
And those are my three issues that I need to work on. And basically my resolutions for the upcoming year might be get better organized, institute standard operating procedures in my business, and start exercising. And the exercising will be a little bit down on the list. I need to, if I try to tackle all three of these at the same time, none of them are going to get done.
Right.
So instead, the exercise one, because that's the one that has, while it should have a little bit more importance to me, is a little lower on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work on my organization, my 2 bags a week, with the focus on my work area, and I've already picked up a couple of books on operating procedures for businesses, see if I can glean some information from them. And once I feel I have a handle on that, then I'll attempt the third thing on my list, which is how am I going to get more exercise into my daily routine easily. I mean, I know some people who put on their to-do list, on their daily to-do list, walk. Did you walk today? And so they have to cross it off. I mean, if you're as ADD as I am about to-do lists, if I actually put it on my to-do list, it's going to have to get crossed off. Going to have to do it.
I just bump it over to the next day forever. I'm not as great about my to-do list. Although if I notice something's on there long enough, I get really sick of it, and then I end up doing it. So maybe sooner or later that would work for me. Yeah, my husband's really big on exercising, and he does it every day. Like, he's like, for him, it's like, okay, I brush my teeth, I shower, I go for a run. I mean, it's that part of his daily routine to the point where, if he doesn't exercise, he feels weird, which I don't understand whatsoever, but I respect it. I mean, I would love to get to that point where if it became a thing where if I didn't do it, I'd feel weird, like skipping a shower or skipping brushing my teeth.
Well, and I think it's also finding how you work in your own life. Like for me, to-do lists are king. If I know I need to do something, I'll put on my to-do list and it'll get done because it's on the to-do list. My husband would never do a to-do list either.
Well, I haven't. Well, see, my to-do list is like, it's more like a list of suggestions. I mean, when I write my to-do list, it's basically just so I don't forget that there's these things I need to do, and I cross off what I can, and whatever doesn't get done that day rolls over to the next day. And then usually there's a couple more things I end up adding. But if something rolls over like maybe more than 3 times, then I'm like, okay, I really got to do this now. So my to-do list is a little bit more flexible, but but every, I start a new page for every day, and sometimes it looks crazy because my brain is crazy. I treat the page like a brain drain. And then what I'll do is I'll like go through and I'll number the ones that are then I'll put them into like categories of importance. Like I really got to do this, like this. So, my to-do list takes me like 5 minutes in the morning just to kind of review. And then, I usually do most of it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not perfect. I don't ever cross off every single thing on my list. I'll do most of it. But the fact is, I was never very good about doing to-do lists till I met you. And then I was like, yeah, okay, I'll write it down. You know what I mean? I got into a better habit of it. So it's the system I have now. It's not the greatest in the world, but it works because at least I'm not forgetting stuff like I used to forget. Plus,
Yeah, I
I
was
love Google
really.
Calendar because if it's something I really need to do and I'm really going to forget, like making doctor's appointments, I set up in my calendar as a note saying, call the doctor. And all of a sudden I'll get this email alert and I'm like, what is this? And it says, call the doctor. I'm like, oh, yeah. Because, I'm like, my head's up my butt. I'm running around like a crazy person all the time, so I forget to do these things. So Google Calendar is your friend if you've got rampant ADD. I'm always
Yeah,
writing myself notes for things, and then I get
you know
emails.
what? Well, you know what? I would Google Calendar alerts. I ignore.
You do?
But that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's funny because they annoy me. I have to look at them.
You see, they don't. I'm like, my alarm went off. Okay, I shut it off. And that's it. I got an alert. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I've got like 3,000. I've got
Funny how
3,000
different things
emails.
work?
I haven't even attempted yet. Yeah, no, this is not important right now. But I'm very. I mean, I guess I'm old school in the sense that I like paper. You know, I like to have it on paper. If I put it on, and I've tried doing notes on my phone. And if you look at my phone, there's like all these alerts, unlooked at alerts on my phone. For notes
Mhm.
that I never even looked at that I wrote myself. So for me, that doesn't work at all, and I can't do it. So it's
I
finding
have both.
not at all, and I think that's probably why I'm going to have a hard time finding software. When I first started my business, I bought some accounting software,
Mhm.
and I just was such a struggle to put input in all the information that they needed. I mean, it gave me a nice report and everything, but I had to input all that information, and it was just such a chore to do. And I could just get the the accounting book out and just write it down in the first place. And I think it's the way we see things. If it's in front of me and I see it like physically in my hand, that whole tactile touching thing,
Mhm.
it makes more sense to me. If it's in the computer, it doesn't. There's a disconnect for me there. Does that make sense? Uh,
Yeah.
I know exactly how much money I spend on anything in my business. I know how much I make. I know where my expenses are going. I know I'm spending too much money on something because I wrote it down. When I was putting it into the computer, there was a disconnect, and I was like, I have no idea.
Hmm.
So anyway, that's me. I have a friend who does everything by computer, and she's very happy. And she's also, I don't know, 17 years younger than me too. So it's also a generational thing too. I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean,
sure
I do
where
a
that.
little. I think I'm in the middle. I do a little bit of both. Like I mostly write. I mean, I read that book years ago. Write it down, make it happen. And I do believe there is magic in putting pen to paper because your brain is sort of like as you're writing it out. I think there's something that kind of wires it deeper into your psyche after you like you physically write something on a piece of paper. I really think it does. And then
Right.
if it's really important and I really have been putting it off too long, I send myself the Google alert because beeping things drive me crazy. Like alarms, alerts, things like that. So if it pops up on my phone, I pay attention and I'm like, oh yeah, usually and it's because when I usually schedule them for a time where I'm like it's like 2, 3 o'clock where I have a lull for a second and I can do stuff. And if it reminds me to make a phone call, then I can just jump on that right then and there. But I wouldn't have put it in the Google Calendar if I hadn't already written it down on my to-do list for a couple of days and bumped it forward and then like gotten to critical mass or like, okay, I've pushed this off 3, 4 days. I really need to do it. but I definitely believe there's something powerful about putting pen to paper and writing things out. So I'm right there in the middle, like I'm half you and I'm half your friend. Like I need the computer and I need the phone because they definitely help me out and they make things easier. But at the same time, I have notebooks. I always have a notebook in my purse. I need a
Mhm.
note. I mean, I don't leave my house without a notepad. I need to write things down. I mean, a lot of times if I'm really frustrated or angry, I write it out. But my to-do list thing, I constantly have that with me. But I like the idea of the vision boards. That was something I'd never really done before until I think Oprah did a show on it a couple years ago, and then you talked about it again. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I used that program Canva to make one last year.
Oh, I love Canva. Holy
It's
cow.
fun.
It is. And what I like about Canva is it's canva.com, canva.com, and they have loads of pictures and stuff that you can add, and most of them are free. And but if you want one of their paid ones, it's $1.
Right.
So
Or, what I've done is I've uploaded all my own photos. And,
yes,
if you upload your own, that's free too. And most
yep,
of their fonts are free.
yeah. Most of their fonts are free. They have a tutorial. You can have preset. I mean, if you like, we're doing it for like Facebook or something like that, and you wanted to do a header or something, they got
Mhm.
pre-designed headers. I mean, as far as the dimensions are concerned, I've done ads for like when I did the ad for Natural Awakenings, I did it all on Canva, and didn't cost me anything because I used my own elements, my own pictures
That's
on it.
great. Well, yeah, I used it as a vision board, because I was able to kind of put pictures on it and pull things up. And so then, for the beginning of last year, it was sort of like and it's interesting because some of the things on my vision board I have actually done. I've taken 2 intensive aromatherapy classes, and I have gotten a little bit more education as far as herbalism goes. So that was the only thing that my vision board and I have not worked on is like building up a Reiki clientele, but I've been very lazy about that. So I'm cutting the vision board some slack. It's not the vision board's fault.
Well, because the vision board is only a tool,
Right. I mean, if
you
you're not
know.
looking at it every day and you're not like kind of focusing on it, it's kind of hard to kind of like keep things in the forefront.
Well, exactly, and which is why I like the little mini monthly vision boards. For the month of January, I will probably when I sit down and do the one for January, I'm mostly going to be focusing on organizational skills, and kind of get some stuff underneath my belt. So it's not just it's a vision board with a plan. Is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
So it's not just I'm throwing stuff up there. It's just going up there and all right now I've put this on my vision board. How do I accomplish it? How do I get to where it is I want to be with that? And then that's where it's setting a plan and breaking it down into easy digestible bits to do it. Because if we go with weight loss, if I say, geez, I gotta lose 30 pounds. Lose 30 pounds, that's not really a realistic goal. And if you don't start seeing substantial headway towards it, you tend to, you know, give it up after a while.
Mm.
However, if over the course of a year, let's say I want to lose, what do I want to lose in the course of a year? Let's make it real. Let's make it real a little bit more. Let's say I want to lose 20 pounds. That's 1.5 pounds a month. You know, which can be something a little bit more to shoot for. Does that makes more
Yeah.
sense?
Well, someone once told me years ago that anyone can eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah,
And
I
the
like that.
yeah, I mean they were saying, and it's an old any man can eat an elephant one bite at a time. So like when I tell myself I need to lose weight, I just tell myself I have to lose 5 pounds, and then I lose it again, and then because 5 pounds, I mean that doesn't sound like that big a deal. But if I tell myself I need to lose 70 pounds, that feels soul crushing and
Yeah.
impossible. But you do it 5 pounds often enough, you could get there.
Someone also had to also tell me about exercise is to start off something like stupidly easy. Like for every day and I'm just going to throw an example of that there. Touch your toes. You start off doing it once. And then the second day you do it twice. And the next day after that you do it 3 times. And you just add one more every day until you reach a peak, and then you start over.
Mhm.
I think I might give that a whirl. We'll see what happens with the this call next year. So
Yeah.
putting it on record for right now, the three things that I need to work on are my organizational skills, my standard operating procedures, and I need to lose 20 pounds. Going to share yours, Laura?
Well, I would like to have a better way of cleaning my house, which would be more daily maintenance and less panic, frantic cleaning at the last second before guests show up. And my second one would probably be, well, since I'm losing my job in September, I'll be looking into alternative employment. And then the other one would probably be try to incorporate exercise into my life so that it becomes a daily given, kind of like a shower or brushing my teeth, even if it's just a 10-minute walk. And I'm going to be gentle with myself. That's my secret one underneath all of these. I'm going to be gentle with myself about all of this because beating myself up and screaming at myself and calling myself a loser for not sticking to my goals doesn't get me anywhere except depressed and less likely to do anything. So what I'm going to do is be very loose with my resolutions, and I'm going to wear them very much like a loose cloak, where I will take them seriously, but I'm not going to like hate myself if I have a day where I'm just kind of meh. I need to be gentle because the harder of a taskmaster I am, the less I do it. So,
Well, and here's another thing with my to-do list. I don't have daily to-do lists. I have a weekly list. So there are, and for the days that I just don't feel like doing anything and I don't do anything, it's okay because I have an entire week to do. I mean, my lists are not short. It's basically what I need to do over the course of the week. The bills I have to pay, work I have to do, articles I need to get written. And it's there from Sunday to Saturday. It's a list of everything I need to do. And I find that I can go literally 2 days, not do anything. And it doesn't affect the list whatsoever. Everything still gets done. I have at least 2 lazy days a week, and then I'm productive the rest of the week. Sometimes
and that's cool.
it works for me. I found if I try to do daily to-do lists, what I ended up doing was moving a lot of stuff over from day to day to day. And then by the end of the week, the list was like unmanageable. So if I have a list of, usually there's about 30 items on my list I have to get done during the week. And some of them are substantial and some of them are not. It's about a good mix of both. So if I look at the day and yeah, I'm productive, but you know what? I don't feel like sitting down doing this really big thing. But there's like, I don't know, 7 really tiny things on that list. I can get all of them done, cross 7 things off the list, feel really productive, and it was still kind of a lazy-ish type of day. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then this way I don't feel like I didn't accomplish anything. I did. I crossed 7 things off my list.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm lucky if I count myself 3. If I can get 3 off the list, I feel like a raging success. Otherwise, I get panicky and nuts. I have to go really easy on myself. Otherwise, I get very rebellious.
Well, and there are times things. I mean, and it doesn't happen as often anymore. Um, I would say in any given 3-month period, there might be 1 or 2 items that gets moved over, or better yet, I'll look at something and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
You know, I really don't want to do this. It's not helping me in any way, shape, or form. And I've already pushed it over 3 times. Obviously, it's really not that important to me, and I just take it off the list.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I usually don't put anything on there unless I kind of need to get it done. But if I keep pushing it off, that's when I send myself the Google alert because then it's like, okay, I really got to do it now. Because once I get beeping and things still popping up on my phone, I'm like, okay, okay, it's serious.
Whereas I would just ignore it.
Right. Well, it's funny because whatever works, whatever works. And the funny thing too is if I overused the Google, I think I'd start to ignore it too. I think the reason why it works is I don't really use it often. Like I don't do it every day. Usually I don't need to do it every day. But if it gets to the point where I really need to make a phone call or there's a deadline coming that I really need to like pay attention to, then I'll use it. So I think if I used it every single day, it would lose its effectiveness.
Yeah, probably would. And actually, I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to add 7 things to my to-do list, and it's just going to be I like that 10-minute walk, 10-minute walk.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
10 minutes is better than nothing.
well, first
You
10
know.
minutes is better than nothing.
And
So
plus,
the
they
thing is,
said if you did 10 minutes like 3 times a day, that's like 30 minutes.
exactly.
And that's like, and there's no rule that says you have to work out for an hour or it doesn't count. It counts.
But if I put it on for like 10 minutes of exercise and put it on 7 times on my to-do list, all right, that's basically 70 minutes. So let's say Monday
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing it. Well, then Tuesday I do it twice. Still getting done.
Yeah, you're still getting it. Still counts.
It still counts. So I think that actually might be a really good approach for me to start getting exercise back into my day, which
Right.
an easy way to do it. Something that's doable and not going to quit because I'll just keep putting it in my to-do list. It'll get there. It'll get there. So, any more thoughts and suggestions on how to approach New Year's resolutions?
Well, I like the idea of the monthly vision board or a monthly thing and breaking it down to small bits. And I like the idea of, well, I know for me, and this is just because I know how I am, because I'm very rebellious about things, like go easy. Because, yes, statistically, a lot of people, it takes a long time. There's this great book called Better Than Before by a woman named Gretchen Rubin. She wrote the book The Happiness Project. And her book, Better Than Before, is all about habits and how we make them and how we can, enforce them. And then there's another really great book that really got me thinking about things called The Power of Habit. That was brilliant. It was a lot more sciencey, but they're talking about what you have to do when you're trying to change your habit. Is there's a neural pathway in your brain that's been kind of deeply grooved. You've been doing something a certain way for a really long time. And you can't burn a new pathway. You kind of have to replace the bad habit with another habit. And you have to kind of focus on the reward. And so my suggestion would be reading those 2 books, because especially if there's a particular habit or a lack of a habit that's troubling. I read both of those books. One was a Christmas present, which was funny. I did put it on my wish list. And I was kind of like, when anyone gives me a self-help book for Christmas, I always resent that because I'm like, what, you think I need to fix myself? But then I'm like, but wait, I'm the one that asked for it. but, but yeah, that book was really eye-opening about, how to kind of like changing your attitude, because you kind of have to like approach it you can't approach it from a thing of like, oh my God, I suck, I have to change it. Because it's not helpful. It's more like I deserve good things, so I'm going to treat myself better. That works better. So those would be my suggestions. Love yourself into changing. Don't change because you hate something about yourself, because I've been trying to do that for years and it doesn't work. But when I tell
Right.
myself I deserve to feel good, I deserve to blow off all this excess energy by putting on that hot Shaun T and like working on my hip hop abs, and and have fun. The exercise that I choose to do tends to be something I would like to do anyway, which is usually dancing. So just because I just think if it's not fun, no one's going to stick to it.
Mhm.
At least in some ways. Some people like to suffer. I don't. I like to have a good time. So if I'm going to try to create new habits, I'm trying to make them fun. Or be social about it. Like my girlfriend and I were doing really good walking around the track at Canterbury for a while. And then I got injured, then she got injured, and we're kind of out of the habit now. But that was a fun way to catch up. And, we walked fast enough that we could talk, but, like, it wasn't like we were super yapping. We would have to, like, breathe, too. but that's helpful too. So get a buddy. That helps too, and either an accountability buddy or just an activity buddy. But sometimes it helps with your social too, because then it's not just about you anymore too. You kind of keep each other on track. And
Well,
that's,
actually, you make a really good point here about accountability partners. If you're accountable to somebody, you find that, I know I am. One of the coaches that I work with, Amethyst Mahoney, that's one of the things that she really advocates is you have a partner. And once a week, you two of you get together and you talk about what you've done. And the thing is, you know what, you need to have something done so you can tell this other person, I did this, this, and this. So you don't feel like, well, I'm just kind of slacking here. So an accountability partner is really good. We should do that for our exercise. We should be accountability partners.
Yeah.
Once a day.
Or I'd be afraid to what I know kind of know how I am about some things. I just dodge people's calls. It's like I don't want to tell you I didn't do it, so I'm just not going to pick up the phone.
Oh, that's okay. There's other ways to reach you.
Mm-hmm. I'm the worst.
but also not only accountability partner. I think something that should be on a daily thing, and it's one is gratitude.
Yes.
Establishing gratitude. But also, when at the end of the day, when you're looking back and thinking for all the stuff that you're grateful for, take the second to compliment yourself. What is something that I did that was really great?
And find
give yourself credit. Give yourself credit.
Well, yeah, because you know what? There's enough people, or there's enough voices in your head telling you all the things you're doing wrong. It's nice to actually, find what you're doing right. Because
exactly.
I tend to find that when we focus on what's going right, you tend to see more of what's going right.
Correct. So I think, and you know what, I think that might also be something to add to a vision board too, is that when you're putting in, like, let's say you're doing a little monthly thing, maybe put a little picture of yourself with like a tiara on top of your head, that, see, really, you're awesome. And kind of remind yourself that, you know what, you're really good. You've got this. You can do this. And sort of have like your own little pep squad,
right.
And your accountability partner. So we'll be talking about that come January.
Sounds good.
I did not know a note of enthusiasm in that.
It does. It does sound good. It sounds really good. How's that?
Okay, that's awesome. Maybe we'll do a call on accountability in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much I hate it. Even
Alrighty.
Well, it's like eating spinach. You know what I mean? It's really good for you. It's just hard to get into doing it until you start to really like it.
Well, then you find a different way to like spinach.
Yeah, well,
have you ever had like freeze-dried spinach?
Spanakopita. I love me some spanakopita.
Yeah. So there's ways to do it.
Oh yeah. I love spinach now. It just took me a long time. So that's maybe how I feel about accountability.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's next week's show? Capricorn?
Capricorn.
Awesome. Or 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now. All right. So Laura, we'll get together in 2 weeks, and this was fun.
All right. I'm excited. I'm going to start working on my vision board for January.
Cool. Just for January.
Just for January. I'm not going any farther than that.
No, just January.
Just January.
All right. Night, Laura.
Talk to you later.